Are you looking for a home that you are going to finance, or maybe it's an investment property and you are evaluating different mortgages that you can engage in to obtain your property? Now you're wondering, all right, do I go with fixed rate or ARM? And that is exactly what I want to talk to you today in this particular session. Hi everybody, my name is Nev from One Deal Away, and I want to share with you my thoughts and reasons that are mathematically and scientifically supported, as well as a little bit of economy, of why I believe that you should go with fixed rate and not ARM. And today I'm going to explain to you exactly why. Now look, I know that when you go out to the bank, and if you're having hard time qualifying because maybe the property is a bit more expensive, maybe you don't have as much money, maybe you need a bit better terms to get a bit more money, or maybe your credit is not as awesome because of something happened, you're looking for a more favorable term. Now I will tell you one thing. Now in 2020, when I'm recording this, the mortgage rates and the ways to borrow money are the cheapest they have been in decades, absolutely decades. Vast majority of people don't know that back in, I want to say, the 80s, mortgage was ranging between 12 on a super low end. You were like lucky if you get it there, all the way up to about 18%. And I know some folks that had to pay 20 to 22% interest on mortgage. Can you imagine that? And now we are struggling with making purchases at 3, 4, 5%. It's crazy if you think about it. So that is kind of the historic concept that I want you to think about, that even if you have like a 5 or 6% rate, it's not all that expensive. But that is just a historic way to think about it. I know that when you go out to the bank, they might peddle, and I use that term very intently, on getting you into the ARM. The problem that I see with the ARM is that oftentimes they may give you these low introductory rates, basically to lure you in and lock you in. If we look at right now that interest rates are as low as they have been, now there's of course always a chance that we're going to hit back to zero, and there's always a chance that we might go to negative. I mean, Europe is doing it, so why not us, right? So while nobody knows what is going to happen, you know, I always look at things to say, what is more likely case scenario? And what is the best case scenario for me? I always want to have more options rather than less. And I always teach my students and my staff that when choosing something, they need to choose something that gives them the most options, meaning a strategy that gives you more strategies, more exits. It's kind of like going into the room. If you go into a room and you only have one exit, well, guess what? If you can't go out that exit, you're kind of stuck. So if you go out into the big concert halls or hotels or any of that stuff, like, you will notice there's multiple entry and exit points. That is excellent. You want that because in a case of emergency, in case something happens, if one exit is blocked, you can always go for another one. And that's kind of the way that I like to think. Now, it is possible that I do that because I have been trained in first responder and emergency situations, and my thinking is, you know, life first, then everything else. And I always think about that when it comes to money. I equate money to life first. And so I take care of that first, everything else will come in. So people first, then money, then things. And I'm sure you've heard there's somebody else I want to say. Was it Susie Orman maybe that said that? I don't know, maybe. Hey, what's up, Suze? She was my girl for a very long time, and then just things that she said didn't have anything to do with me. It just didn't work. So I'm sure that it works for some folks. It just didn't work for me. So it was a short-lived love. Let's just put it that way. But I do love the fact that she is talking about money. So, and you know, she's pretty funny most of the time. Anyways, let's get back on to this thing that we're talking about. And the thing that we're talking about that I want to share with you is that whole... So why ARM? Why would they sell you an ARM? And what is actually ARM? ARM stands for Adjustable Rate Mortgage, ARM. That's what ARM is. And I always joke that it's an arm and a leg sometimes if you don't pay attention. But here's what the problematic thing with ARM is, that oftentimes, like I said, they will give you the low introductory rates where it seems really good and you can afford it. It's kind of like that entry level, like when you get a credit card for the first time and they give you this like first 6 months is 0% and you're like woohoo, and then you go bananas and you go shopping and then you're paying like a minimal payment, which is like, I don't know, 25 or 30 bucks, and then 6 months goes by and you know, maybe you plan to pay it off but things happen, life happened, you just didn't, and now all of a sudden the minimum payment is like $350. You're like, whoa, I could have done 35. I can't do 350. This is ridiculous. And it gets very stressful and it can shut people down a lot because most of us have fixed income. And I don't mean fixed income as like bonds, although for some of us that's true that are watching this. But I mean that, right, like we are on salary, we are on hourly, and you know, it might shift a little bit from week to week or month to month. You know, maybe if you're on commission, it really does shift quite a bit, or you have your own business, it can shift quite a bit. But for most people, you know, it's pretty static. And so when we know that certain expenses are X every month, it's much easier to plan. Now imagine if like expenses were like just all the time going up and down, up and down, up and down. That's really hard to plan for, and it's really hard to like eliminate that financial stress when you have to constantly worry about the money. So that's kind of what happens a lot with these ARMs. You'll get in for the first year, maybe even 2 years, you'll get something like 2.75%, whereas fixed is maybe 3.5. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Yes, I want to do this. So you go in and sign up. And then the problem may happen is that what happens is called adjustable for reason. 2 years later, or 1 year later, or 5 years later, depending which one you signed up with, the rate will adjust. How much, nobody knows. It could stay roughly the same if things remain the same. If the rates go down, then it will go down, but it won't go down as much as the rates. So that's one interesting thing to keep in mind. If it goes up, it will definitely go up. And so you basically are playing potentially with fire. I always say that debt is fire, right? I relate it to fire, and as fire has ability to warm us up and ability to burn us and kill us. And so I like to play with fire in a way that I want to only heat it up so far where it keeps me warm, where it helps me make my food, but I don't want to turn the fire up so high that it can kill me, right? None of us want that. Debt is pretty much the same way. And so I like to be able to have a control. When you have something with adjustable rate, there's no control. So that's problem number one, or problem number two actually. Problem number one is that it's a low rate and you don't know where it's going to go. That's two, right? The third problem is to what particular index are they attaching this arm? You know, arm, just like our arm, like a regular human arm, has to be attached to something to work. And arm in mortgage is also attached to something to work. And it could be attached to it's typically an index. Index is something like the US prime rate. It could be LIBOR as well. So there are a few different indexes, I don't know, whatever the plural is. So I apologize for lack of my English skills. But it will attach to that. And so the problem is that if it attaches to LIBOR, I don't know if you know or not, but LIBOR is going away in what, like 18 months, something like that. And and they don't know what they're going to replace it with, but they're still selling products, including mortgages, that are attached to that particular index. And the problem is that when it changes to whatever this new thing that is going to replace it, nobody knows what the price is going to be, what that is going to be, what is it going to follow, and so on. And the reason that LIBOR is going away is because they have uncovered that it could easily be manipulated. shocker, right? I'm sure you're shocked that something in financial industry can easily be manipulated, and that there are players who are not afraid nor ashamed to manipulate it to, of course, their benefit, not yours and not mine. So those are the prime reasons that I really don't like getting into ARMs. I prefer to go into a fixed rate. And in one of the upcoming shows, I will actually be showing you, I'm going to do a little bit of magic, if you can believe that. So I have, when I was a little kid, I dreamt of being a magician. And, you know, I was pretty okay, but, you know, magic requires a lot of love. And I only had interest. And so I never became like a full-fledged magician, but I have learned a trick or two. And in one of the upcoming videos, I'm actually going to use a little bit of magic to tell you a story about debts, about interest rates, about assets, and how things work, because I think it will make more sense to you when you see it that way. So what I'm trying to say is that I like to have fixed interest rate for the reason that I can plan for it. Now, question that people ask often is, well, wait a minute, Nev, right? If you have, like, you know, if the rates go down, then if you have flexible, you win. Look, guys, if you buy properly to begin with, right, and you get yourself into a fixed rate, 2 years, 3 years from now, you can refinance anyways. So if it goes in your favor, just refinance. And if it doesn't, then thank the heavens above that you listened to this video, that you watched what I was sharing, you paid attention, and you exercised it. And when I say purchase intelligently, is that, you know, you make money when you buy, not when you sell, not when you hold. So you gotta buy things at value, you gotta buy things in a good location, you gotta buy assets that actually make sense. Don't just be going out there and just buying something because everybody else is doing it. That's stupid. And I'm not calling you stupid, I'm calling myself stupid, because that's what I used to do. I would watch everybody else and then I'm like, oh, they're all jumping on a ship, I'm gonna jump too. That was the dumbest thing on the planet, because I didn't understand the fundamentals. I didn't understand why somebody was doing that. I got caught up in a moment, caught up with the herd, and you know what happens with the herd? They get slaughtered. So I got killed one too many times in the markets, but I've learned my lesson and stopped playing the same game. And it's time for you to start playing a different game too. So I hope this was helpful to you. Thank you very much for watching. If there's any value that I'm giving you in any of these things, please let me know. You know, give me a thumbs up or plus or whatever it is that lets me know. A heart, I like hearts, I can go with that. A smile, whatever, a comment. And you know, recommend the show to your friends and family who can benefit in learning a bit more about how to improve their money and finances. Until next time, stay forever money blessed, and do remember, you are only one deal away.